Article 1, let's turn to page 283. It states Selena and Martin are waiting at the bus stop. The number line shows the number of minutes T Selena and Martin each wait to expect. Who expects to wait longer? Justify your responses. So we've worked with inequalities before in 6th grade. All right, so we can see that Martin, and take a look, his is pointing above 15. Martin expects a longer wait so Selena's number line is red. T is equal to or less than 15, where Martin's is T is greater than 15. So solid dot here, there's a line underneath. Open circle there, there's no line underneath, okay? So for part B, it says if Selena and Martin both wait 10 minutes for the bus, whose expectation was closer to his actual time? So if we look, Selena's expectation is closer because Selena's number line includes 10 minutes. Okay, and we can see that here it goes through 10 minutes where Martin's does not include 10 minutes. Okay, so make sure you have that written in on the bottom of page 280. Let's turn to page 284 in the book and follow along as I read. See the suitcases there? How does using addition or subtraction to solve an inequality compare to using the same operations to solve an equation? Think about this question during the lesson. On the airline that Raul is using, the weight limit for both suitcases combined is 50 pounds. The baggage weight limit is 50 pounds for the airline that Raul is using. Raul's first bag weighs 38 pounds. How much can Raul's second bag weigh without going over the limit? All right, so you may already know that it's 12 pounds, but let's take a look. All right, so it cannot be any more than 50 pounds, but it can be equal to 50 pounds. Keep that in mind. So that's why there's a line underneath. So this is less than or equal to, okay? As we write an inequality to represent the situation, the weight of the first bag, which we don't know, and the weight of the second bag, which is 38, is going to be equal to 50 pounds, which is the limit. All right, then we're just going to use substitution. So which of these are the unknown? Well, it's the weight of the first bag, the smaller one. So we can put an X there, or whatever variable they're going to use. Oh, well, these can be interchanged, but it doesn't really matter. So it's the weight of the second bag, that smaller one. So what we're going to do is just like we did with any one-step or two-step equation, we're going to subtract 38 from both sides. Okay, so I'm going to do that here first now. And we're going to get the p by itself, so we subtract. All right, so as we subtract, we'll see that p is less than or equal to 12. So the bag has to be less than or equal to 12 in order for us to get on the flight. All right, so let's take a look at the try it. All right, it says Kyoko has completed 26 hours of community service. All right, so her goal is to complete at least 90 hours. So we have 26, so we want to have at least 90, so it can be equal to 90, but it also can be greater than. So we have our 26, right? And this inequality sign stays the same throughout, so we can bring that down. We're going to subtract 26 from both sides. So this is really where the math takes place. So she could do anywhere from 64 or more in order to get above that. All right, so then we're going to take that and we're going to graph it. All right, so we said that it's 64, which would be somewhere back here. So that's 64, and it's going to be a closed circle, so we'll keep that unclosed, and we're going to have the arrow going to the right. All right, so that's what you should have shaded in. All right, so make sure that's in on page 280. All right, please turn over to the bottom of page 285 for example 3. It says solve the inequality x minus 1/2 equals negative 2/3. The first thing you want to do is add the 1/2 to both sides, which they indicate here in blue. All right, finding a common denominator, we find that it's x is less than negative 1/6. So we find negative 1/6 on the graph. It's going to be an open circle, and take note that it's pointing to the left, so our arrow should point to the left. All right, for this one, we're going to go ahead and solve. So we should have n is going to be less than or equal to 1 1/8. So our endpoint is positive 1 1/8, which is right here. So it's 1.125, I just know that. All right, it's going to be a closed circle because there's a line underneath, and we see that the arrow is pointing to the left. So what we would have is, let's see if we can do this on our graph. And I don't know if we're going to have a graph there, so it should be a line underneath. Yeah, it's not giving us that. So this would technically have a line underneath it, so just bear with me and believe me. So there's a line underneath that, and the number is going to be 1 1/8. Okay, so make sure that's put in. All right, let's turn over to page 285. At the top, we'll look at example 2. It says the weather forecast predicted that the evening temperature could get as low as negative 12.5 degrees. So that means it can't be any lower than that. Between the afternoon and evening, the temperature dropped by 7.5 degrees Fahrenheit, and the forecast was still correct. What could the afternoon temperature T have been? All right, so we set this up. T minus, and we're subtracting 7.5 because it's going to be dropping. And we said that it would have to be greater than or equal to negative 12.5 because the temperature has to be above that because it can't be any lower. So we add 7.5 to each one, and we see that we end up getting T is greater than or equal to negative 5 degrees. All right, so for this one here, it says that the speed limit on a road drops down to 15 miles per hour. Okay, so what we do is we'll have 15 miles per hour on a curve. Mr. Gerard slows down by 10 miles per hour as he drives. He never drives above the speed limit. What speed was Mr. Gerard driving before the curve? All right, so if we take a look, what we're going to do is we're going to set this up like this. Let me take a screenshot here so I can annotate over top, and we'll come back to the actual graph. All right. Okay, so what we have is that the G is subtracted by 10, and it's going to be less than or equal to 15. So what we do is we add 15 to both sides, or I'm sorry, add 10 to both sides. So our final graph, or final inequality is G is less than or equal to 25. So keep that in mind, G is less than or equal to 25. And then what we'll do is we'll go back over to the graph. So we have 25. The endpoint is going to be 25. Okay. Okay, it's getting, all right, it's going to be a closed circle because we have a line underneath. I'm sorry, it's an closed circle, and we're going to be pointing to the left, so that's what our graph should look like. So make sure you have that penciled in as well for page 285.